All right, everyone. As you can see on the screen here, we're opening up the turns.jsonl file inside Visual Studio Code. This data set that we're looking at is actually what we'll be using to fine-tune a model. Now, as you can see, scrolling through this JSONL is pretty cumbersome and not exactly user-friendly. So our goal here is to build a simple UI with the help of the Copilot agent. What we're going to do is use the agent to launch an embedded browser, set up some playwright automation, and basically create an interface so we can filter and navigate this data a lot more easily. So let's dive in and get that UI going. We've just pasted the prompt right here into the interface, and this prompt is essentially a set of instructions for the agent. We're asking it to build a UI that will let us view this turns.jsonl dataset in a much friendlier way. As you can see, we mentioned we want a multi-item grid display with a scroll. That means instead of us having to dig through lines of JSON, it'll just show each item in a nice grid format. And we also want to highlight that there's going to be a single page view. That means if we click on one of these items, it'll open up a detailed view showing the conversation in a much more readable way. So now the agent's going to launch the UI, display all the content, and let us apply filters. It's going to make navigating to this data set a whole lot easier. Let's watch it in action. What's happening right now is that the agent is taking the information we've just given it. It's reasoning over the data we've provided from this turns.jsonl file and making some decisions. What the agent does is it looks at how the data set is structured, and it uses that to build the UI we described. It's going to create that multi-item grid, add scroll functionality, and also give us a single page view for each conversation. So this is all the agent's handiwork, and once it's done reasoning over the data, we'll have a nice user-friendly interface. Let's see how it ships up. Now, everyone, what we're seeing on the screen is that the HTML page has come up, and it's basically the visual representation of that data we were talking about. So this is the agent's handiwork, turning that JSON data into a nice scrollable grid that we can navigate. You can just imagine each item as a card that we can click on to get a single page view. And as our user here is pointing out, we can see that the interface is working the way we intended. So let's walk through it and see how it looks in action. So right now you can see that the browser tab is actually shared with the agent. That means that the agent has the ability to perform actions and commands directly on that shared interface. So as we're seeing here, the agent is actually able to interact with the conversation dataset viewer and help us filter through the records, open individual items. So just to be super clear, the agent did all of that on its own. We didn't do any of the actions manually. Everything you're seeing, the filtering, the navigation, basically how it's scrolling through the data, that's all the agent at work. So just wanted to highlight that the agent is the one doing all the heavy lifting here. This is actually one of the coolest parts for developers, because what we're seeing here is not just the agent helping to build the application, but the agent can also take those instructions and then do functional testing right here in the browser integration. So that's really the revolutionary part. The entire workflow of launching and testing is automated. The agent and the browser are working together, so developers can just sit back and let the agent handle the repetitive parts. It's a game changer for streamlining development.